Shortest path. So in the shortest path questions, you're going to be given a network and you're going to be asked to find the shortest distance from one node or one vertex to the other. Generally, we're going to go from left to right, but keep an eye on that. Sometimes just to confuse you, they'll purposely ask you to go, let's say here from Z to A or from F to E or somewhere random. So read your questions very carefully. Now, if it's a nice small one, sometimes it's really simple to have a look and just to see the shortest path straight away. But generally in an exam, if it's worth more than 2 marks, then what they want to see in your solution is the path itself, the distance of the path is your second mark, but also the working as you go from vertex to vertex. So sometimes even if it's simple, you're safest just to show you you're working at each vertex. And I'll show you what I mean by this. So basically, they'll sometimes give you a circle to show you're working in. Sometimes so that they're not prompting you, they'll give you a network that looks like our other networks, but you just got a dot there. And in that case, you still need to show the working. But basically, you're going to show the shortest distance to each of the nodes. So if I assume that we were going to start at A, let's change my pen here. Yeah, if I went first of all from A to B, I've got 2 options. So I can go directly from A to B, and you can see that would just be 15. It's also possible I can go from C to D and then back, so that would be another way I can get there. But obviously in this case, that's going to be very much longer. So my quickest distance is to go directly, and my shortest distance here would be 15. So I'd show my distance in there. And to show where I came, I can just circle the one I came, or otherwise what I often do is show my working to the side. So had I gone a different route, I can see where that number 15 came from. Because by the time you get to the end, it's sometimes difficult to backtrack and where you went without having to recalculate. If I was looking at A to C, you can see again, my shortest path is just to go straight from A to C. I could go around the other way, but that's going to take me very much longer in this case. So not always, keep an eye on it. Sometimes they try and trick you. So my shortest distance to C would be a 20. Now when I want to get to E, I've got a few different ways I could go. I can go straight along this way, and if I did that, I'd have a 40. So I'm going to write my 40 on that edge to remind myself that that's how I got there. Otherwise, I can come around and go from A to C and then around this way, or I could come around the bottom and then back up. So we need to basically check on all of these, which is why we're showing our working. So first of all, let's look at node D. To get to D, if I went via C, I'm going to have the 20 plus the 8 would be 28 here. You might want to initially show your working to remind yourself what you've done. Or I could have got to D via B, and that would be my 20 here plus the 15 to get to B. So that gives me a 35 coming along here. So far that 28 is going to be my shortest. I could also have come along from the E and then down this way, but in that case that would be 50, so I'm not going to put that. But again, always keep an eye on these things. So that one was 35. So far the shortest one here is 28. That 28 plus this 10 in the middle here means I would be 38 coming up to E. So in this case, I am basically going to go this way to E would be my shortest. And so 38 is what I would write at that node there. And again, if I need to backtrack later, because I've written the 38 here, it's going to allow me to see where I've gone, and I might just remove my highlighted lines there so I don't confuse you later when I come back to backtrack. Okay, so put my pen back on there. Oopsies. And I've lost my 28 there, so I'll put that back in. Okay, so now as I go across, if I'm trying to get to G, again I've got a couple of options. I can go this way, starting at the D, I can go up this way, or I can go this way. So I need to keep writing all my movements down as I go. So 38 plus my 15. You know, mentally 30 and the 10 here is my 40. So what am I going to have? 53 altogether. I might have wanted to do, have a method, is all I'm saying here. People often, you get these in the mental section, people tend to go them up because their mental's not good. Start with your ones, okay? So 8 and 5 was my 13, carry my 1, and then my 1 and my 3 is my 4, plus that 1 gave me my 5, okay? Have some kind of strategy just to make sure you don't mess these up. It's making a silly mistake. Coming along from D to G, along this way, I'd have 28 plus 5. So again, mentally, I've got 8 plus 5 is 13, carry my 1. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus that 1 would give me a 5. So I'd also have 53 coming along this way. Otherwise, I might have come via F. F, I'd have 28 plus this 10, so just so you can keep track of where I am, I'm at this 28 plus this 10 here. So that would give me 38 coming along this way, and there's no other way, so I'd write my 38 in there. 38 plus my 12 would give me 30, 40, 50. So if I was coming along this way, 50 would be my shortest, so I can see 50 to G is my option. And when I come to backtrack, again, because I've written down my numbers, it's going to allow me to see that that's where I've gone. Coming to the end now, 50 plus the 10 would give me 60 if I'm going in this direction. 38 plus the 24, so mentally 8 plus 4 is my 12, so I put my 2 down, carry my 1. 3 and 2 is 5, plus that 1 is 6, so I'd have 62 going this way or 60 coming along the top. So 60 is going to be my shortest distance. For a final answer in this exam question, I'd need to show not only that 60 but my path, and we tend to highlight it. So I'm going to highlight this path as we go along. So then you need to backtrack wherever I've been. Well, I've been there. The other thing I'm going to recommend here is that I write my path down backwards because it's easy to track. So starting from that Z, I know I've gone back to G. I can highlight that. I got to G via, because I've recorded these 50s, I can see I've come down this path, so that's made that nice and easy to track, and that was from F. So F was my one before that. To get there, I've come along this path here, so you can see I was at G prior to that. That 28, I can see again because I've kept track of my numbers. I can see that that 28 came from this path, so I know that that's coming from C. So I'd record my C. I think I left my D off, and it's so easy to do, so you've really got to be careful there. So I went Z, G, F, back to, and I've written G, and it was actually a D. That's what I've done there. Oopsies, now I've really messed it up. So I've gone Z, backwards to G, backwards to F, backwards to D, and then it was to C. Okay, and from C, I had already highlighted that. I've come directly from A. So my path would have been, and you can see I've highlighted that, A, C, D, F, G, F, G, Z, don't forget the Z. And my distance is the other thing I must record. So, and my distance was 60. So in a marking key, typically what's happening is you get a mark for your path, you get a mark for your distance. Don't forget to use units. In this case, they haven't given any, so I don't need any. But if these measurements were all quoted to be in kilometres, either visually on the numbers or in the blurb in the text, if they said that it represented the distance between towns or whatever, if your question has a context and they've told you what units they're measuring in, then don't forget to put the units in your answer. And your final mark here is generally for showing your working at each of the nodes. So even if you'd gotten this fully correct, but you hadn't shown your working, you wouldn't get more than 2 marks. So if it's worth more than 2 marks, do make sure you show the working at each of your nodes as you go along. And that can be as simple as, you don't actually have to show all those calculations, of course, but showing a number in each of the circles to show that you've actually done the work. Now, in the next question that I'm going to use as an example, this is what they like to do. So they'll give you a network which looks like an ordinary network, but they haven't prompted you by giving you the sort of circles for you to write your answers in. You'd still need to show some working, so you might draw your own circle or do whatever. Make sure you show your answers at each node, but sometimes just to make sure they don't prompt you to what style of question it was, because we do lots of network things, they might not cue you in with that sort of thing. So in this question it says, and again they have used the word kilometres, so we'd make sure we put kilometres in our answer. So it shows the length in kilometre of the roads connecting 7 towns. Find the length of the shortest path from A to F. So in this case they are more or less going left to right, but watch that, they might have said from A to E, A to G. Sometimes they'll say you have to go via a particular point, and then you need to make sure that you first go to that point and then from there on to your end point. So let's work through this one. So starting from A, to get to B, I can go straight up here, and that would be a 40, and I might just change my pen colour again. So obviously that's already written there, but I'd have 40 that way. Or I could go around this way, and 20, 30, that would actually be quicker. So you can see if I actually went this way, 13 is going to be my shortest at C, so if I was going to keep track, that's my 13 there. But 13 and 25 would give me a 38, so my shortest distance to B is actually 38. I might just make my pen a little bit skinnier to show this. Okay. I will also just remove all my highlighting so far, because when we come to do the path later, that's going to trick you. Okay, so that's my working to each of those nodes. To get to D, my shortest distance will be 33. So again, they've tried to trick you. That one there's 35, but that's actually going to be longer for me than going from, I can't read, I think it was C in the centre here, going down this way to get there. So I'm going to record that one there. So with 13 plus 20 would give me 33 coming that way. So at D so far, I'm going to have 33, and I'll write that next to this edge so that I remember that that's the way I came. Now as we go along to E, I've got this 14 plus this 38. So again, 8 plus 4 is 12, carry my 1. 30 and 1, or 3 and 1 is my 4, plus that 1 gives me 5, so I'd have 52 coming along this edge. Otherwise, starting from the vertex I've got here, 13 plus my 42, so 3 and 2 gives me the 5, and 4 and 1 is 5, so I've got 52 as well coming that way, so I could come either of those ways. Going from C along this way here, so I'm adding the 56, so 3 and 5 is 9, 3 and 6 is 9, and the 5 and the 1 gives me a 6, so I've got 69 if I travel in that direction. E, as I say, was 52, so if I was travelling in this direction, 52 plus my 12, 2 and 2 is 4, 5 and 1 is 6, so I've got 64 if I came in that direction. Still need to check this one. So 33 from D plus my 32 would give me 65 if I travelled in this direction. To get to G, 33 plus my 28 here. So 3 and 8 is 11. Carry my 1. Then I've got my 3, 4, 5, and that 1 is 6. So I've got 61 if I went there. And adding my 5 would give me 66 up here. So my shortest distance is going to be that 64, and then I need to show that path. So if I put my highlighter on here, and again I'm also going to show where I went. So starting from F, and I'm going to write this backwards. I know 64 is my shortest, and I need to track back where I went. So that 64 came from travelling first along this path to my E. So my E was the one before. From E I can take either, so I can either take I've written 52, and I think that was 55, 52. I've read my 52 and my 55 as being the same, but it's actually got to be that 52, obviously. So here I'm heading down this way for my 52. And so that means I've used B. And to get to B, that 38, remember this was a trick here, so that 38's come from this 38, which means I've travelled down that edge, which means I then went to B, which I've already written. What have I done? F, E, B. Oh, that's a C, sorry. I've read my 13 as a B. My bad. So that was C. I will just remove that line there so you can actually see that was that C. That's where I've got that from. Undo that. Okay, and then from there I obviously came down this one, which was my A. So my path was A, C, D, E, F. My shortest distance was 64. Now the question told us this was in kilometres, so I must put my units or I would get penalised. And in terms of marking on this one, it's probably a 3-mark question at least. I'd have a mark for this, which must include units or I'd be penalised. You'd have my path, and I'd have my working, around my edges to show how I got there. And that's the shortest distances. Good luck.